Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Big Ten Mafia Show, part of the College Football Mafia. I am your host, Sergeant Pickles, and with me today, fantastic guest host, Moen, sitting in for Becky. How we doing, Moen?
Doing well. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. I'll allow it. We're starting the season. Brand new Big Ten season, brand new teams, and we got some early friends here in chat. Joaquin Morales, our ASU friend. Hey, college football fans, smash that like button. Absolutely. It helps us out a lot. Please do so. Ryan Willie is right after you with the Go Bucks, Moen, on Wisconsin. And Ryan being generous to kick off the show with a super chat. Can't wait for the Badgers to upset Bama on September 14th from my seat in Camp Randall, telling the rest of the Big that we are back. I'm cheering for you, Ryan. I really am. And it's not just my Alabama pettiness that I want to see you hand DeBoer his first loss. But, the booze will be flowing for a change at Camp Randall. So hopefully you'll see an upset win there. How you feeling about their chances? I know you've been bullish on them.
I think if Pickle pulls off that upset, they immediately sign him to an extension. Give that man all the money if he can pull off an upset against Alabama. But I think Alabama will win that game, but I like Wisconsin with the points, man. I really do.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it would. I don't think it would shock either of us if Wisconsin does pull the upset, though. First game of the season, crazy things happen, and that would be a huge statement win in the Big Ten versus SEC showdown. A preemptive apology to chat if you can hear screaming in the background. Those are my dear children, and my wife is doing her absolute darndest to corral them. But you know how it goes. You out there with young kids understand my plight. Nathan stopping in. Hello. Channel member Jeffrey Bell on Wisconsin. Got a lot of Badgers floating around in chat. I think they're getting excited for that Alabama game.
Yeah, as long as they don't play Ohio State, I'll root for Wisconsin.
There you go. That's weirdly enough, that's how I feel about kind of like a lot of the Pac-12 teams. As long as they're not playing my team, I'm cheering for them. Even the Cougars. I have Cougar family members. If they're not playing the Huskies, go Cougs. Clay Johnson, your arch nemesis, stopping in. Moen going to Big Ten and go blue. Channel member Skaven, yes, hello. Yeah, that team up north is already getting after it early, Moen.
Yeah, they never stop.
Yep. Timothy Green, let's get ready for another great show. Appreciate that. Daniel Gygax, our Mountaineers are representing well early. Expedition Greg, hello, my friend. T-Duck, good to see you in here. I promise I'll try not to wear my purple glasses the entire time, my friend. Pac-4 don't consider themselves Big Ten members, just renting till something better. I got to disagree with you on that one. I don't know. There isn't anything better. I don't really see what's better coming down the way unless you're talking about like a Super League, but that's a whole nother deal entirely. I don't know, Mo, and I'm waiting to be accepted into the family, but I feel like we're pretty Big Ten-ish from the schools coming in. Have we earned our keep yet, or is that yet to be seen?
I think there's only one school that's on the outskirts that wouldn't be classified as a Big Ten school. And I think we can all figure out who that is.
That might explain T-Duck's apprehension there a little bit. New person to the show. I've never seen this name before. Becky Go Huskies. Where is Becky? On her way to a new computer since camera and microphone stopped working at a meeting. Absolutely. When technology, when we need it most, it lets us down, unfortunately. But we hope you get your technical issues, Becky. And Moen's doing a great job. He's going to hold down the fort for us here. So take the week off and enjoy some college football coming our way this weekend to get your computer sorted out. And I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about after our week 0, teaser going into week 1. Expedition Greg says disagrees with T-Duck either about the fact that something better is coming along or that we're not Big Ten members yet. So I'm with you, Greg. I feel like we maybe haven't, it's like being the daughter's boyfriend. You're invited to all the family get-togethers, but they don't know if you're permanent yet. That's how I feel as a Husky fan.
No, you guys are permanent, so you signed the contract. You're here for life.
Yeah, I thought that about my old conference, and I've been scorned hard for it. So let's hope I can have a safe and warm, cozy feeling about the Big Ten. Illinites head hopping on ILL, getting excited. I don't know how their chant goes. You're gonna
INI.
Do they do the two halves of the stadium deal?
ILLINI. Fighting
Okay.
Illini.
I'm learning. I'll learn as we go. That's for sure. The Ducks sure seem to want to be in the Big Ten.
True.
Suspiciously, he left out one stadium in the Big Ten that he decidedly did not visit, but that's not a shocker. Not brave enough to come up here during duck season in Seattle. I think we'll fit in just fine. Les Austin, hail to the victors. That's a new one. It's not Michigan. The traditional chant.
That's a Michigan one.
I know. I'm again learning. I'm learning as I go. The Husky is catching up. Our Beaver friend, this one I'm more familiar with, Clint Moses out here in the beautiful PNW. Go green, go white. Wow. I am surprised you're hopping on the MSU train for your old friend Jonathan Smith, but he's a very divisive figure amongst the Beav fans these days.
Well, as the kids say in East Lansing, it's Sparty on.
Sparty on?
Sparty on.
They got to come up with something better. That's not great. It's only been 100-odd years. Do you think they'd come up with something better? That's called a Lunchable and nope. The Daniel Gygax. I may have missed what was going on there.
That's the Ohio Valley Pizza. If you missed that yesterday, it was...
Yeah, I wish I had the tweet of yours to pull up, Moen, but I don't know if you saw the GIF I put underneath the from Portlandia, right to jail, right away.
Yeah, right away.
You have untoasted pizza toppings, and you're calling it a finished product. We've got issues, my friend.
It's popular around here, man. People eat it all the time. I drive an hour to get pizza.
I just don't understand. Like, you had all the requisite ingredients to make a perfectly acceptable pizza, and we know you have an oven because you made the crust part, and it's like, I don't know, did you not pay your power bill and it conked out halfway through? Like, what is going on? It doesn't become a gourmet dish or a local delicacy just because you ran out of ingredients or power. Like, that's not a thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do better, Ohio.
It's a thing. Well, it's not only Ohio. It's in West Virginia, too, and parts of Pennsylvania.
Well, as far as I know, they're rocking the pizza rolls, so they at least know how to cook it all the way through.
They do.
Becky, much worse, indeed. So thank you so much for everyone stopping by in the early show. And if you didn't catch it on Friday, I thought we could finally reveal whoa, that's not the one I want. Apologies for the technology. Add to stage. There we go. The good old college football mafia consensus top 25. Are we seeing the whole thing there? Perfect. And on the Friday show, we had all of our regular hosts on. We all submitted a top 25, and we made it very clear this is where we think we're going to end the season, not beginning of the season, because I personally think preseason rankings are some of the most pointless things in college football. And I think we came up with a pretty good consensus. We had some slight disagreements. A few people were wearing, their Homer glasses. You thought the Utes are going to be, a fringe top 5 team. And I had the Huskies in the top 25, which I got berated from some of our friends in the college football mafia. Moen, have you had any changes of heart or any other observations since we kind of talked about it on Friday?
I still think LSU is a little high being in the top 10. Okay. And I still think Michigan is a little low being 14. I think you need to move them up to 10 or 11. And Missouri, I think Missouri is a top 16. My opinion.
It definitely seemed like the disagreements would be that it's like if you went conference by conference and tried to play out what you thought the records would be, it turned out differently than just trying to piece together a top 25 on its own. Because my top 25 looked very odd because I went conference by conference in all the Power 4 and tried to stack them and then piece them all together. Mm-hmm. So I got very weird things like Auburn being very, very high, LSU being higher than we have them here. I had Iowa as a possible college football playoff team. I think they have the schedule for it, and that's just kind of the way it's stacked out for me. But, who knows? It's just a fun exercise we go through the beginning of the season, but I think it's definitely has an extra layer of interest that your top 25 is now, that's your playoff matchups, and you can stack up and even go with your CFP rankings. We got some more comments flowing in here. Thank you again, Ryan Willie, for the super chat. Ohio folks also think chili on spaghetti is a thing too. Yeah, that to me is drunk people food, that Skyline chili. It's like we didn't have anything else, so this is what we made.
That's strictly a Cincinnati thing. You will only find that in Cincinnati. It's Skyline and Gold Star.
Okay. So I'm slowly learning there are very, very distinct regions of Ohio that don't agree on very much.
Well, if you're in Cincinnati, that's what it's down to. It's Skyline or Gold Star. There is no in between. You're either on Team Skyline or Team Gold Star.
Interesting. Is this like the Philly cheese sandwich feud going on, where there's like Sharks and Jets gangs fighting over this kind of thing?
If I was going to pick one, I'd pick Gold Star, but I don't particularly care for either of them.
Okay. Don't even get us started on our Texas friends with the does chili have beans or no beans debate. That one went on for quite a while in one of Bomber's shows. Conundrum mentioning Louisville out, NC State in. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the hardest ones for me, is that I think both, at least to my mind right now, the Big 12 and the ACC have three clear teams that I think are contending for that championship. The Big 12 to me is more wide open for a dark horse. I think we mentioned someone like a West Virginia could sneak into that championship game. Kansas, if they had another crazy jump, considering the trajectory they're on. But for the Big 12, in my mind, it comes down to some combo of Utah, Kansas State, or Oklahoma State. And in the ACC, it was Florida State, Clemson, and Miami, and then a little bit of a gap. But who are you thinking about? Who is not even on this top 25 consensus that you could see even jumping up somewhere like top 15, top 10? They have some miracle season. Who could you see coming out of nowhere?
Well, obviously that's going to be West Virginia.
Okay. Yeah.
If West Virginia goes on a run and can get past some teams, they could easily be, Garrett Green could have a Heisman Trophy season.
Yeah, you've definitely been on that train. And I think it makes sense that the teams that have really notable out of conference games, like West Virginia, if you're kicking off and you get that win over Penn State, that's catapulting you up the trajectory of not only contending for a conference, but, possibly even more than that. Yeah, other than the Huskies, again, I gotta stump for my guys here. I actually could see, I think it's weird that we didn't have a single G5 team on. Whoever makes the playoff to me from the G5 will be undefeated. It will have one loss. They'll be a top 25 team. I think they'll be somewhere in the 20 plus range. I had Boise. I know our good friend, the Godfather, Greg Flugar, is stumping for, is it North Texas or Texas State? I don't know.
Texas State. Texas State.
He's on the Bobcat bandwagon, our friend Greg Flugar. And Moen, who did you have for your G5 pick?
I like Boise State. I do. I think Boise State's it. Speaking of Greg stopped by and had probably the worst take I've ever seen on food. Meat should not be placed on pizza.
Greg. What are we doing here, my friend? I'm lactose intolerant. I can't have all that dairy. Like, I eat it anyway, even though I'm not supposed to. But you got to balance out your savory, sweet, and salty. Come on, Greg.
I think Greg keeps kosher or something. He doesn't want any dairy with his meat.
They make kosher meat products. I know this is a thing that exists in the world. Come on, Greg. I believe in you. If you're doing it for health reasons or religious reasons, I understand. But you can't just say arbitrarily never place meat on pizza. That is crazy talk. That's almost like the pineapple thing. I'm not a fan of pineapple, but whatever floats your boat.
Whatever you want to put on pizza is fine, just as long as it's cooked.
Yeah. In the Mafia household, we draw the line at uncooked pizza being an acceptable dinner item. Lionite Ted says we're planning to derail Kansas week 2. I did forget about that matchup between Illinois and Kansas. I think that's kind of a sneaky under the radar. Lionite Ted, if you could throw in if it's going to be played in Lawrence or not. I would just say it's a pretty toss-up game for me. Kansas obviously coming off a strong season, but I think the home field advantage would loom large that early in the season. Do you think a team like the bottom end of the Big Ten has been kind of a rough go. We have the same kind of 4 or 5 teams in there. Do you see one of them getting a signature out of conference win that we weren't expecting, such as an Illinois over Kansas? Do you think it's in the cards?
A signature win. That's a tough one.
It's in Champaign, in Urbana-Champaign.
It is in Champaign. Yeah. Out of the bottom ones, it's hard to tell. Maybe Northwestern upsets Rutgers, if we're going to consider that that's an in-conference game, but that's their first game of the year.
I see.
Rutgers,
okay.
So
yeah, it's just we're in that speculation zone. You know, the games are finally right there in front of us. You know, we get these week 0, which I hate the fact they call it week 0. I think it's ridiculous. But the games are right in front of us, and it's so exciting because I think the most movement top to bottom in the top 25, actually the bulk of it happens because of these next few weeks, these big out of conference games. And we've definitely lined out a few of them. Let's see if I can recover my tweet here, but our friend Big Ten Ted actually put out a similar listing of his biggest out of conference games that he thinks will sway the course of the season. Moen, which one, Big Ten or otherwise, what's your biggest featured out of conference game that you think could really shape the national picture?
Texas versus Michigan is going to be huge.
Okay.
I mean, if Michigan pulls off the upset and beats Texas, that's going to be a huge confidence booster for Michigan. A lot of people are counting Michigan out. I'd say they may have slipped off a little bit, but I don't think that they fell all the way down. I think that Michigan-Texas game, if Michigan can beat Texas, watch out for Michigan. They could run the table.
Yeah, I mean, I've expressed some frustration, certainly as a Husky fan, that in the same breath, people are saying, oh, Michigan's lost all this talent and they've got a new coach, but they're going to recover. And that Washington, for the first time in the CFP era, finished as a top 10 team and is now not ranked. It's the only time it's ever happened. And I get it. That's the thing. My purple glasses are strong. I get the sentiment, but I just feel like there are two different arguments being made for the Huskies and the Wolverines. Do we have someone hopping in that I see there? Oh, that's you. Okay.
I'm going to share some spreads. We're going to talk about the week 1 games for the Big Ten.
Absolutely. We can get into that in just 1 second. Our friend, the Godfather, West Virginia has gone from the most underrated P4 team to overrated. Green is a career 54% completion rate. Fun to watch, but the fat guy from Minnesota has a better chance of getting the ticket to New York City. Not with you on the West Virginia Heisman train.
That's Greg saying it, people. That's Greg.
I mean, did we hear the words? I think all Big Ten. I don't know if we heard the words Heisman, but I think he said the Greek Rifle was a dark horse all Big Ten quarterback last year. Did I hear that correctly, Moen?
That's true. Mike Bozemer is this year. Max Bozemer is this year, even though he doesn't have any receivers to throw to. So,
I mean, full props to you, Greg. You're saving the environment because you just took the piece of paper with what you said about the Greek Rifle and used that white out and just wrote in Bozemer this year. So, credit to you, sir. Shh. The darkest of dark horses, so dark that we don't even talk about it anymore. Greg seems to not recall, though.
Yeah, I figured.
It's been quite the year. I mean, the conferences look completely different. Cats and dogs living together. It's anarchy, Greg. But yeah, I assume that means that Greg's pretty bullish on Rutgers to have a strong quarterbacking season out there.
A lot of people are. We mentioned that in our group chat. We've been talking. I've been talking about Rutgers all off season, but now a lot of people are picking them as their darling. Rutgers to win 9 games. So
yeah,
I was out there first. I was putting my neck on the line for Rutgers for any of these media we're even talking about.
You did. Their schedule I think shapes up pretty favorably, and again, selfishly as a Husky fan, I've been really circling that week 5 matchup. Washington has Northwestern at home to kind of break in the season. I expect the Washington to win that game. Nothing against Northwestern. It'll be tough. Anything could happen. But that week 5 game going to Piscataway to play Rutgers, that will say a lot about both where the Scarlet Knights and Huskies are kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of the Big Ten campaign. Can Rutgers really cement, whether it's a diminished Washington or not, can you knock off a defending national champion runner-up? That's huge. Washington has been a CFP contending program for the last decade, and to get a win like that would be a huge feather in their cap. Can Washington go on the road and win, famously the 3,000-mile road trip cross country?
That's going to be the tough one because it's at 11:30 at night. So
it's a late Friday game. It's perfectly good time here. I mean, we're just getting home, kicking on dinner, and throwing on the TV on the West Coast. That's the beauty of living out here where we do. But it is certainly a unique challenge. It really emphasizes that this is the new conference realignment. I will say, though, different Rutgers team, different Washington team, but in the 2016-17 season, somewhere around there, the Chris Peterson era, Rutgers and Washington had a home and home, and Washington took care of business both at Rutgers and at home. So a little bit of recent history to base it on. They can at least say they have won in the state of New Jersey in recent memory.
I think it was when Chris Ash was coach, though, so you really can't. You're not saying much.
Yeah, we scheduled them when they were breaking 6 wins, 7 wins, and on that good, Rutgers might actually do good in the Big Ten East, and then tough sledding there in the late 20 teens. Conundrum: USC versus LSU, and USC wins. Stand by. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your perspective of LSU. If you think they're a playoff contender like many are purporting, then that's a huge boost to USC. But USC controls their own destiny. They have tons of big games on their schedule. Moen, do they play Ohio State? Or they have Michigan, rather.
They have Michigan this season.
Okay. Yeah, USC has Notre Dame, Michigan, and LSU, and then all the other traditional. I want to say they play USC, Oregon, and Washington also. It seems like all the West Coast schools are locked in for the near future on playing each other. They control their own destiny. Lincoln Riley has no more excuses. It's put up or shut up time with these games, and they get Notre Dame at home to end the season. That will be, in my mind, kind of a de facto championship, win your way into a college football playoff type game. Because Notre Dame's going to get all this hype beating, presumably a good USC team on the road. But if USC knocks off Notre Dame, that's a strong case for an at-large bid in the college football playoff. They got the name recognition to do it, and that goes a long way. All right, Clint Moses. Cats and dogs living together. Kansas and Rutgers are the real deal. Chaotic times we live in. I kind of like it this way, As much as I cheer for the Huskies always, it's good seeing. It's good seeing that pair. What's that?
Love a good dog. You got to love a good underdog.
Got to love a good underdog, And it's good to see that, we're not in the total. We all thought NIL would kill every competition and teams could never improve. But it kind of goes to show if you have a decent athletic department that's investing some money, and key to this is a really good coach that's there to build a program, you can win anywhere. You really can. Leipold and Schiano are both building great programs. And, if they stay there with the investment that's being made, there's no reason they couldn't get into that, fringe contending for a conference championship. The traditional blue bloods are always going to lead just because money talks. Moen's got money coming out his ears to spend on athletics for everything. But it doesn't mean that a team like Rutgers can have an awesome season and really, really push the boundary. Moxie Tux, go RU, keep chopping. Definitely going to watch the Washington Rutgers game on Friday. It'll be a late one. Plug in as much coffee as you need on that Friday night or get after some cocktails responsibly. But I think it'll be a lot of fun and very interesting stylistically. Washington is going to be more balanced, still looking to those deep threat receivers. They got a competent quarterback. But Rutgers, pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball. They are going to run it until Washington proves that you cannot run it like that anymore and keep it moving. Very, very cool to see a heavy contrast of styles early. Lee Poston don't understand the West Virginia hype. They went 9-4 last season, played 4 G5 editions and a bad pit. I don't think that G5 edition thing holds as much weight going into the second season. All the conferences are totally new. You play the teams on your schedule, whether they're good, bad, or otherwise, and the Big 12 is wide open. So I think it really does depend on whether you think they're a team that can beat Pitt and contend for a Big 12 title or not.
Yeah, and to be fair, if Nate was here, he would tell you that was 3 G5 editions. BYU was independent.
I'll vouch for that as a West Coaster, that we've always seen BYU kind of in think about like mid 2000s TCU. They were always too good to be a G5, but they couldn't really find a home. That's been BYU for basically the last 30 years. They've always been that like, G5 and a half. And I'll die on this hill, but if the Pac-12 had added BYU and Utah instead of Colorado, I think they'd still be alive today. One, because the rivalry is really good, but two, adding a team like BYU shows that you understand the value of football, which the Pac-12 presidents did not. Conundrum thrown in. Let's see how Max Brosmer does versus the Tar Heels before knighting him. Yeah. That one, I didn't even know that game was scheduled until I was poring over the Big Ten, matrix schedule. That's huge. And I know that, UNC doesn't have Drake May, but they still recruit really well. They're still plugged into the South. They pull all those types of kids. And they're going up to the Great White North when it's not quite blistering cold. So I don't know if that'll be as big a home field advantage as it might be in Minnesota.
Well, let me put it this way. They've got to play Nebraska first. Max Brosmer's going up a much improved defense in Nebraska before he even gets to the Tar Heels. So Max Brosmer better not overlook the Big Red, because Big Red might smash him a little bit.
Is that one of those strange, really early conference games?
That is their Thursday conference games. It's been quite often that Minnesota's played the first conference game on a Thursday, and that's true this year as well.
Is that the $5 bits of broken chair? Is that a thing we actually recognize, or is that just something Minnesota people talk about?
Hold on a second. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got the wrong year.
We might. We might indeed.
I do. Never mind. They don't play Nebraska. Greg's right.
Disregard our last.
I pulled up the spreads and they had Nebraska.
It'll basically be impossible to see, but here I'll throw it up for us real quick. This is courtesy of our friend Big Ten Ted. This is a full. Everybody loves a good helmet graphic chart. Moan, if you're able to throw that on for us. There it is. So, yeah, it might be a little difficult to read, but, yeah, we see week 1, North Carolina on a Thursday playing the Tar Heels are the Minnesota Golden Gophers. It looks like they have a pretty easy non-conference going into there, but, yeah. Minnesota, all of these teams have some kind of significant non-conference, it seems, except for cough, cough, our friends, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who somehow scheduled absolutely nobody. How did you manage to do that? Was this one of the ones where you were supposed to play Oregon and obviously it got canceled?
Well, we were supposed to play Washington, and we canceled the Washington game with intentions of scheduling an Oregon game. Give them back the Oregon game we missed COVID year. And then, Oregon and Washington got added to the conference. So that's why our non-conference looks the way it does this year. But prior to that, Ohio State always schedules tough on non-conference, guys. We've got Texas the next 2 years. We schedule tough at least one tough non-conference game.
Yeah. Washington has a not very notable non-conference. However, one of those slots will always be filled with Washington State. Make of that what you will, if you think that's a tough game or not, but rivalry games have an odd way of doing odd things. So I wouldn't count that out as a totally weak non-conference schedule. But yeah, go ahead and head over to our friend Big Ten Ted. He's got the full, very aesthetic helmet matrix grid schedule there for our friends if you're so interested. X-Monksy talks, no quarterback play is better than negative quarterback play. 3 pick sixes. We're about to kill this against Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, it was it your quarterback not being able to deliver the goods, or was it those defenses being absolutely killer? A little bit of both, maybe. I know that I can attest that the Michigan pass rush is no joke last year. I was expecting, though, when you said no quarterback play is better than negative quarterback play, and then just like some kind of Iowa joke inserted in there. All right, Nathan Campbell, Sergeant Moen, Alabama, 7-5.
Wow. No chance, Nathan.
That's brave. No, I had him in the 9-3 range. I was brave enough to say that they won't hit double-digit wins. And again, I'm just going to get called a bitter Husky fan and this, that, and the other. But I have legitimate reasons. It's mostly because I think the loss of Ryan Grubb as his OC, it's not going to totally implode the program. It's still Alabama. They still have crazy talent. But I think DeBoer leaned on Ryan Grubb to really, really make that offense hum along. And now you get to see what it's like when he's basically running the show without his right-hand man. So,
yeah, there's far too much talent on that Alabama team to lose 5 games.
Could you see a 9-3 though? I feel like
I could see a 9 and I could see losing 3, but I can't see him losing 5.
Yeah, Bama's schedule is still tough. They're playing whatever you want to make of Auburn, but I think they had Georgia during the season, Texas during the season. I'm not certain if they play Oklahoma, but both the Big Ten and SEC are just murderers rows in terms of schedules. Like the easy schedules still have 2 to 3 really challenging games for every team. Minnesota fans will tell you that Rutgers is going to have to win without WB.
I think that's QB
play. Yeah. Hopefully the West Coast 4 teams can give you a little taster of what it's like to have really good, competent quarterback play. Whether the Huskies are good or bad, I feel pretty confident that we can deliver some good quarterback play. Now, whether or not we can defend anyone, that's up for debate. Ryan Willie, Greg likes it wearing his maroon-colored glasses. We all wear them. Moen's got his sweet shades on, which, despite appearing black, are certainly Buckeye red over there.
Scarlet and silver. Gray.
Are you scarlet and gray?
Scarlet and gray are
officially.
Colors.
Man, yes. You and the Cougs, I can't get away from those colors, man. Officially, you're both scarlet and gray. It's just a bane on my life at this point. Shoot, I was looking at something. Bama could fall to 7-5 if they lost to Wisconsin. That'd be like a total implosion type season. I'm kind of with Moen on that one. Like, I think if they lose to Wisconsin, you're talking like 8-4 at worst. They're still really good. I wouldn't put them in their conference championship game, though. I think the SEC is just too competitive. Moen, did you want to
take a look at the spreads? Yeah, one of the spreads for week 1.
Get to the
so these are correct. This is a correct one, not the 2023 one I was looking at. North Carolina at Minnesota. Minnesota is a 1.5-point favorite at home.
That seems about right. I mean, what they say, home field advantage is worth 3 points, roughly.
So that's 3 points, and
that's like a pick 'em, is what they're saying. North Carolina without Drake May and Minnesota kind of in a put up or shut up season for PJ Fleck.
Yeah, it's going to come down to North Carolina's run defense.
Yeah. I mean, if Minnesota can run the ball, that's a wrap. Yeah, they're going to control the clock. It's weird. I think if North Carolina, if you're picking North Carolina outright, you want to pick the over. And I think if you're picking Minnesota outright, you're picking the under. That's how I think that game plays out. It'll be low. Minnesota's got to keep it low. They got to play good defense and run the ball against Carolina, who's probably still going to want to throw it.
Penn State at West Virginia, they have it as a 10-point favorite. My bookmakers got it at 10.5.
Okay. 10 is like that weird. It's at West Virginia, man. Is this the Franklin brain fart game? Does it happen this early, Moen?
It could. I at 10.5, I'm taking West Virginia.
Yeah, that's fair. It's right on that borderline, because that's like a field goal and a kick type game. I think if it was 8, I would probably take Penn State, but that's a little rich. I think I'm with you. West Virginia could absolutely win. I think they could.
They could win the game, but at least they're going to cover for you, I think.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that Penn State wins by double digits or West Virginia wins close. but they could absolutely win. Don't get it twisted to my West Virginia friends in chat. I'd actually, as much as Penn State's our friends in the conference now, seeing a huge rivalry game and the home crowd going wild in Morgantown, that would be absolutely awesome. I'd love to see that game.
Lee says, no chance. Penn State beat them by 3 touchdowns last year. That was at Happy Valley, and West Virginia is improved. This is in Morgantown. Tough place to play.
Different team, different season. I get it if you're carrying over a lot of guys from the past year, but West Virginia is definitely improving. And Penn State, are they improving? Can they break that 10-win barrier? We'll see. We will see.
Florida International, the Fighting Pitbull Stadium at Indiana. Indiana's 18.5-point favorites.
That's too high. I would take FIU. Can they score?
I might take Indiana. I might take Indiana, just see if Curt Cignetti has put that offense in that he did in the G5. I might take Indiana on
that. Do they take their foot off the gas if they're up 2 touchdowns, though?
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think he's going to go all out.
That's the weird part of some of these early non-conference games is strength of schedule doesn't quite mean what it used to. Okay, yeah.
UConn at Maryland. Maryland is a 24.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
I'm taking Maryland.
Even without Talia Tagovailoa, Maryland's still good. They're
like their defense might score 24.5 points.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Maryland is kind of like, it feels like what we all think of Rutgers, we should be saying about Maryland, but we're not for some reason. Like they should, I don't know, Moan. Is that just me out here where it's like everyone's hyping Rutgers and they're like, okay, Shiano's really got them on an upward trajectory. And it's like, why isn't Maryland on that same path?
Maryland is in the same path, but Maryland's got a tougher schedule. They didn't quite get the soft schedule that Rutgers did. So, Florida Atlantic at Michigan State. Michigan State is an 11-point favorite. My bookmakers got this at 11.5. I actually like Florida Atlantic.
I would take the Fighting Jonathan Smiths only because I know that offense can score, but I don't think his defense can really stop anybody. Although, against the Florida Atlantic, I think he does just enough. I think he can cover 11 points.
Akron at Ohio State. Ohio State is a 50.5-point favorite. Take Akron. Yeah. Ohio State is not going to beat that team by 51 points. They're going to have third stringers in there by halftime.
Yeah, you're not going to run it up on an in-state, friend like that. At least I'm assuming you'd be nicer to Akron than other teams.
No, they will. If the third string scores, they'll keep scoring. But like I said, the third string's going to be in there by halftime.
Yeah, but you're not going to keep your firsts and seconds out there just to pound on them when you're up, 30 points, right? You're going to
They'll get pulled.
Breaks a little.
They'll get pulled. So
yeah.
UTEP at Nebraska. Nebraska, I think 28-point favorite. I think you take Nebraska.
I don't know a ton about UTEP, although I know they're not particularly well regarded in the AAC this year. So, they're not in the AAC. They're are they in the Sun Belt? Man, these G5 conferences have also gotten confusing with all the moving around. But I know UTEP is not projected to be. For example, I know they weren't listed in one of the G5 college football playoff contender type teams. So, Dylan Raiola is going to make his debut. Can he really win by 4 touchdowns against UTEP? Yeah, I think he'll be motivated to. I'll say that. True freshman, big game at home in front of the big crowd in Lincoln. I think that could be a team I could see would run it up. Appreciate the assist, Daniel Gygax. They play in CUSA. Yeah, I knew it wasn't AAC like UTSA is. They're in a weird other conference by themselves.
Western Michigan at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 23.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I feel like I got a decent pulse on Wisconsin, but I don't know Western Michigan enough. Have they really maintained any semblance of anything after PJ Fleck?
No, they're not fantastic. They're not going to compete in the MAC. So,
is Wisconsin going to run it up on them when they're going to run the ball the whole game, though?
They will.
Okay.
I think they will. I think Luka Fickell needs to make a statement, get those guys ready for that game against Alabama. Miami of Ohio at Northwestern. Northwestern is only a 3-point favorite. Miami of Ohio is a lot of people's pick to win the MAC.
On the lake. I mean, man. That's one I'd like. If I was betting money in real life, I'd steer away from it because if you're gonna pick an upset type game, that's definitely the type you would pick. Kind of a middling Big Ten team in a new stadium, low fan base, relatively. Who knows? Maybe a bunch of people come out to the lake just for the novelty. But I think I'll take Miami of Ohio, and maybe Northwestern wins it by like 1 or something. But if Miami of Ohio wins it outright,
Northwestern better not sleep on the Red Hawks. The Red Hawks are the real deal.
UCLA, you got to win that game.
Yeah, UCLA to Hawaii. UCLA 17.5-point favorite. I like UCLA.
I take UCLA. Their offense is still really good. It's their defense that'll have questions now that Deion Tomlin's at USC. Garbers was named starting quarterback, former UW kid. Definitely has a live arm, prototypical quarterback, big dude, like 6'4", the type of quarterback you want to sling the ball down the field. And UCLA always has high recruited athletes. That's what the West Coast is known for. You're going to get skill players.
Yeah, Illini Ted says at least one MAC team upset a Big Ten team every year for a very long stretch. That's true. The MAC guys come to play. So don't sleep on MAC teams. Fresno State at Michigan. Michigan 21.5-point favorite. Take Michigan all day. That can be 42-point favorite, and I would still take it.
I would take Michigan with a 21-point favorite, but I don't think they could score 30 or 40 on them. Fresno's good. Fresno is a good team.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind, Michigan's defense will probably score 21 points in that game.
Possible. Yeah, but like Fresno is like contending for the Mountain West. Again, I'm saying Michigan's going to win by double digits, 2-3 touchdowns easy. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to run it up on them because Fresno, I think, can put up a few points.
And then the big one, USC versus LSU, played in Las Vegas on a neutral field. LSU is 6-point favorites. My bookmaker has this at 7.5 for LSU right now.
Wow. You're not real bullish on LSU, but how bullish are you on USC's defense?
At 7.5, I think I would take USC at 7.5. If it stays at 7.5, I would take USC.
But at 6, you probably have to take LSU.
At 6, I would probably take LSU.
Yeah, that screams neutral place. I mean, I think that screams close game. I don't know what to make of like big time matchups that early in the season before you've even had like a game to kind of observe the changes the team has made. It is just so hard to gauge those big time start of the season matchups.
Usually when you can win the most money on college football, guys, is in the first 2 weeks. After that, Vegas corrects itself.
Yeah.
So if you're going to bet on college football, I'm not telling you to bet on college football. It says right there, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But if you are going to bet on college football, bet in the first 2 weeks. You will usually cover your nut.
Bet responsibly if you do so.
Yes, and bet responsibly if you do so. Don't do what I do. Eastern Illinois at Illinois. These are all games that don't have spread that are week 1 games. Eastern Illinois at Illinois. That should be a win for the Illini. Illinois State at Iowa. That's an easy win for Iowa. Indiana State at Purdue. That's an easy win for Purdue. Idaho at Oregon.
Oregon's going to run it up on them just because they're rude, and that's what they do. They could win. Yeah. They'll purposely leave their good dudes in there just to win by 50. It pads their win differential or their point differential stats. That's what Oregon does.
Yeah, Howard at Rutgers. That's an easy win for Rutgers. Weber State at Washington. That's an easy win for Washington. That's why these games don't have spreads, guys. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think just going off what I feel like for Washington, starting off the season, and Weber State, nothing to expect. I could see mid-20s point margin. I don't think Washington's going to run it up on them. It's not going to be like basketball on grass because they're going to score their points. They'll score their touchdowns. We got good receivers. Then they'll just pound the ball with Jonah Coleman and some of our good running backs to just run the clock down. That's how I feel that game's going to go.
Yeah, and you'll probably see spreads for these games pop up closer to game time when people are actually going to bet them. But, these are all pick the favorite and the points as far as I'm concerned. There's no reason to pick any unders.
Yeah, Line Ted said not usually a spread for FBS versus FCS games. Speaking of, these won't be on our listings, but Oklahoma State and Colorado, you better not be sleeping week 1 because you got defending 2-time FCS champion South Dakota State poised for a three-peat and 6 FCS national championships since 2011, North Dakota State. So we always talk about those rare FCS upsets. I was very conflicted because my Montana Grizzlies beat my Washington Huskies a few years ago in one of those rare FCS upsets. If it's going to happen this year, it's going to be one of those two because those are top level FCS teams and they're going to be coming for blood, especially South Dakota State.
Yeah, should be an interesting week 1. I know we're not there yet, but I just want to get a look at the early point spreads for you guys. Week 0's here, but there's no Big Ten games on week 0, unfortunately. There should be one next year, I believe, on week 0. We will see.
Yeah, Tony Lashin saying, where's Weber State? Basically, if you assume there's a college in Utah, there's only like one that isn't in the greater Salt Lake area. Utah State's up north, I think in Logan, if I'm not mistaken. BYU and the University of Utah are like 15 miles apart. Everything is in the Great Salt Lake area, pretty much. So yeah, Weber State, FCS Weber State, I believe of the Big Sky Conference, if I'm not mistaken. They're playing with the Montana and Dakota schools. Cool. While I try and piece out our next
I like this comment here. K. Liani L. I'm going to bet my life savings responsibly, of course, because betting your life savings is responsible. On the over in the Florida State versus Georgia Tech game, which I believe is 55.5. I have to check my phone. I think my bookmaker has it at 55.5. Yeah, 55.5. So he's going to bet the over. You got yourself muted again, Pickles.
Of course, as I turn it on, my son goes running by the hallway. That's how it goes. Yeah, I don't know if I'd bet the over. I mean, it seems like, in my opinion, teams take a few weeks to get up to speed, especially playing against other, Power 5 or, P4 level teams. So, yeah, I usually bet the under early in the season unless it is one of those, lower G5 or FCS type matchups. So, Kehlani, I'm not with you on that one, and I certainly would not recommend betting your life savings. Let's not do that because, we'd all like to retire. Life's too short to bet the under. Brave words spoken like a true gambler.
Yeah, listen, unless Florida State's defense has fallen off significantly, you might want to pick the under in that matchup, guys, because, Georgia Tech's defense isn't great. Florida State's probably going to score on them. Georgia Tech's offense is really good, but so is Florida State's defense. So I might take the under on that. I am taking Georgia Tech with the points, though, because the points are 11.5, I believe.
Yeah. I think Georgia Tech, anything over 10, I think 10 is kind of the magic number for me where I could see Florida State, touchdown and a field goal by the time it's all said and done. If anyone has anything to throw in chat, but otherwise I just like odds and ends and miscellaneous stuff, Moen, if you'll take the ride with me. But our good friend and Washington State Cougar legend, Uncle Rico, is now the starting quarterback of the Oakland Raiders. Is he as beloved across the country as he is here in the Pacific Northwest, Moen?
I remember him from Jacksonville.
Yep.
And he got replaced there. Obviously, they drafted Trevor Lawrence. So, and then he was with the Eagles for a time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a backup with the Eagles, but he's one of those journey, career backups where when he's good, he's really good, and when he's not so good, it's kind of ugly. But even as a rival quarterback, because he was on that Washington State team that cracked the top 10 going into the Apple Cup, and it was like the first ever top 10 ranked Apple Cup in history, and that ended up being a snow game played in Pullman, so kind of a legendary game up here in the Pacific Northwest, but even Husky fans love our good friend, Uncle Rico.
I would say he's a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I mean, I don't know if I want to be a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick, but, career journeyman's not too bad, I guess. Just good enough to keep your job,
McCoy retired today.
Enough to start. Yeah. Fitzpatrick at least has that Harvard grad thing going for him now that he's in his post-career. The other one, we got to have the RG3 news. And Moen, how are you feeling about RG3 and no longer being with ESPN? They're making all sorts of weird decisions and hirings and firings and cuts. I did love the self-aware thing. If you don't know this clip from the movie Fridays, like, how the heck you go and get fired on your day off?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. If you've never seen Friday, it's a great movie. But, man, RG3 poking a little fun at himself there. I really liked him as an on-air talent. I thought he was a lot of fun. He brought some energy, and obviously being a Heisman guy, you can debate whether or not he was good calling the actual games, but do you have any particular strong feelings?
I liked him. He was fun calling the games because he wasn't a professional, and he came out and said, I'm not a professional, but let me do this and have fun with it. And, I enjoyed that. I mean, he wasn't calling the big-time games, but mean, as an analyst, I think Fox should pick him up immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be awesome to see him because he does national coverage really well. There was a hilarious moment during the college game day up here versus Oregon. We have all the boats and sailgating out on the water. He jumped up and did the splits while diving into the lake and ripped his slacks wide open down the middle. It was hilarious. I will have fond memories of that game, possibly because we won. But I think RG3, like you're saying, he just brings a lot of energy to it. Even if he's not calling the game itself, I think he deserves a spot to be on college football broadcasting. We're going to get into a little bit of fashion advice. And Moen, you are the man of many outfits. So I got to get your hot takes on some of these uniform reveals. What are we thinking about the Air Force's special operations inspired uniforms that they're either going to debut them against Army or Navy? I forget which, but it is going to be one of the Commanders Cup games.
I like them. I'm ready for the Space Force ones, though. I need the Space Force uniforms.
They're going to have something inspired by it because, for example, the Naval Academy has done Marine Corps inspired ones because for those of our non-military friends out there, people who attend the Naval Academy can either choose the Navy or the Marine Corps, and I believe that is also true for the Air Force and the Space Force at the Air Force Academy in Colorado. Tony Blashin, Disney will continue to cut spending. It's just business. I get that, but you're cutting a popular guy that brings a lot of entertainment and value to the show. I think that's what we're getting at. Like, you could cut in other areas and keep a good product that it seems like most people have a positive opinion about. So
let's talk about this for a second, and I won't go on a rant, but
absolutely.
Kathleen Kennedy, who heads up Lucasfilm, has had gigantic box office bombs, and she remains employed.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Han Solo, a Star Wars story, lost hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
I'm sure RG3 did not lose hundreds of millions of dollars yet.
No shot. And I know his salary couldn't have been that big.
Yeah. He wasn't getting Pat McAfee money.
Yeah, Pat McAfee and his 100 million. I mean, McAfee is a polarizing character, but there's no debating he brings some eyeballs, so I at least understand. But, do you know anyone that had a really strong negative opinion about RG3 on the broadcast? I don't. Some people may be neutral.
I don't, but I think once he took that meme after Paul Feinbaum said what Paul Feinbaum said, I think Paul Feinbaum is more valuable to them than RG3 was.
Yeah.
I'm sure Paul Feinbaum complained about it.
There's a lot of hate watching going on, and I think that one drove me nuts because, Feinbaum is the mouthpiece for the SEC. They're always going to have that guy. But you pick RG3 over, oh, shoot, their name just escaped me. It'll come back to me later, but ESPN is just holding on to talent. Stephen A. There we go. They keep holding on to guys like Stephen A., and I get it. He's controversial, and he draws eyeballs because people love to hate him. But you're telling me you couldn't take a tiny crumb out of all the garbage you're paying Feinbaum and Stephen A. to pay for exciting young talent like RG3, who is a Heisman Trophy winner, who's actually funny and entertaining covering college football, and you can't find a place for a guy like that? Come on, man.
Like I said, budget cuts. There's a lot more fat to be trimmed at Disney than ESPN. ESPN actually makes some money. A lot of their other things are losing money. Cut the people who are losing you money, not the people who make it.
Yeah, I won't say who it is, although I'm sure people know or can guess. I work for a particularly large Fortune 500 company in the Seattle area, and we have a saying about the employees that our company tends to step over $1 to pick up a nickel. And it seems like Disney's in the same boat. Make of that what you will, people. David, WVU coal miner uniform wearing against Penn State looks awesome. Yeah, the blackout. I love it. I wish I had a picture to put it up there. It's clean. It's the idea has been done before, kind of the blackout. But I think going against the whiteout of Penn State's a really cool idea.
What about the Illinois leather helmet uniform? Have you seen those?
I'm getting to that. That's on my uniform rundown. We just kind of got wrapped up in chat with our ESPN side quest, which is fine. We're going into the season. We're just getting all the things out there and clearing our minds, getting ready for some college football action. And here we have, I believe they wore them last year at some point, but how do we feel about the Northwestern Gothics? I'm split minds about this one.
I hate the gold color in the uniform. I think it should be white, but other than that, it's fine.
I feel like weirdly, if this was Washington, it would look better, but it's Northwestern, so it doesn't, because Washington actually uses gold in their coloration. Washington has done a blackout uniform before that was similar, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea. I mean, Nike hoovers up all the good ideas and just pukes them out for Oregon anyway, and everyone else just gets copy paste. But it is what it is. You got to be creative somehow. And I guess even if people hate it, they're talking about you. Case in points, our good friend, Illini Ted, you better still be in here. I really want to get your opinion. The very literal interpretation throwback leather helmet Illini's. Moen, have at it.
Yeah, this is not a win for me. I understand wanting to honor Red Grange, probably the greatest, one of the greatest, I should say, Illinois football players out there. But these are not it. It's just they look bad. It looks bad. It looks cheap. It doesn't look good. Yeah, bad. I don't like them.
Too literal, I think, to me. I think you could have done like the old, you could have even gone with like a light tan helmet, but not made it so airbrush literal, or like some striping, maybe to emulate leather. But I mean, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, the Green Bay Packer, like yellow and dark navy uniforms, I know some old school fans or Wisconsin fans and Packer fans will love them. I hate them. I think they're so gross. And this is like that turned up to 11. The only time I've seen like super artistic paint airbrush helmets that I liked are the Army Navy game. They usually do some kind of super stylistic helmets, but that's a really special thing. And it's not emulating leather. Usually they spray airbrush like a battleship on the side of the helmet. It looks sweet. So Illinois, this is a fail for me. Illini Ted doesn't seem to have a strong opinion, but he would have rather had the gray uniforms.
Yeah, I like the actual uniform. I just can't get behind the helmet.
Yeah, the uniform's not terrible. I mean, it's kind of that retro vibe. We get it, but the literal helmet is, unless you're gonna go to those actual leather caps again, and we're playing rugby, like I don't get it.
You know what it looks like to me? It looks like peel and stick wallpaper.
Like 1970s wood paneling almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you were poor or lived in a house in the 70s and 80s, you know what's up with the faux wood paneling. Every single wide across America had that at one point. Well, that is it for our fashion broadcast. There's really a lot of other odds and ends. I mean, G5 playoff we can talk about. I'm trying to not be smug because this is a literal person and their life, but JJ McCarthy is out for the season. I was not a big believer in him, but literally I don't like seeing players get injured. I hope he makes a full recovery, and I hope he can prove it on the field next season that he is not a very good quarterback. But until then, I wish him a speedy recovery. I truly do. Moen, do we have anything else in chat? Are you ready for your one for the road?
I don't think we have anything here in chat. Illini Ted says he doesn't like the helmets either.
Oh,
we got a super chat.
Our favorite name that I've seen in quite some time, Troll Grinding Cheek Clapper with the $4.99 super chat. I say this begrudgingly as a USC fan. The best dress in fields at any USC game is the Trojan Warrior riding Traveler. It is a stylish look.
Yeah, but that USC uniform is iconic.
It's traditional. Not flashy, not fancy, not but traditional and clean. I've always liked it, even as a rival fan. I will say my one faux pas with USC, get rid of the gray face mask. Please do it. It doesn't make sense with anything else on your uniform. Just go to something else, anything else. But USC has a classic look. Weirdly, I think, Oregon is their own thing, but I think the other three West Coast teams all have pretty iconic uniforms, pretty traditional, that they've always kind of looked the same way.
Yeah, they might not be. That USC is iconic. It never changes.
Yeah, showing up in all the big time games with that uniform. You got the old school style logo, Trojan helmet on the side. That the scarlet and gold they got going on. We got a good color palette coming in from the West Coast. I will say that, a good balance. Got the powder blue, the scarlet, the purple, and the green. Even the green.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
Purple, but yeah, you don't have any compatriots in the Big Ten that have matching colors as you guys.
Not matching. Northwestern's pretty darn close, but that's it.
They're purple and white.
They're purple and white. Yeah, every single team coming in from the West has some version of yellow or gold as an accent color, though.
Must be a West Coast thing.
It is a West Coast thing. Yeah, but Troll Grinding Cheek Clapper, thank you so much again. It's even funnier when you mess it up. But it'll be a lot of fun. I hope to get my way down to USC to see Washington versus USC in person. I've never been to LA for the game. It'd be a lot of fun. And we got Greg coming in. When USC comes to Minnesota, the colors will be pretty cool. A lot of red, a lot of yellow / gold. There's a lot of red and yellow going on in this conference. Not as much as the Big 12, though. They are the conference of red everything. My one for the road, you can tell my brain's in a blender with everything going on. I'm just really excited. I'm pretty hyped as a Washington fan. Got a lot of nervous energy because we could have a really good season and it could go really badly. But we have no idea, and that's half the fun of it. So we appreciate, myself and Moen appreciate everyone being here. Thank you for stopping by. Please catch our other shows later on this week. Moen, you've got the rundown. Do we have
Big 12 Mafia, 8 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday at 8 p.m. We're going to do a members-only stream, the sit-down.
There we
Friday at 7 p.m. We're going to do the Big Freakin' Friday show. We're going to have a gentleman on from Georgia Tech, have a drink, that is going to go over some of the game, what he feels the game's going to happen on Saturday, the Week 0 game, Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Dublin. He's going to give a breakdown of it. So it should be fun to tune in. Make sure you tune in on Friday. I believe tomorrow on the Big 12 Mafia show, we have a gentleman from Pittsburgh, representing the Pittsburgh Panthers, who is going to argue the case.
Interesting. And I forgot to roll the membership, but please, please consider becoming a member of the College Football Mafia. We have a lot of member exclusive videos and things like that. Subscriber only video chat coming out this week. And Wild Ute just released University of North Carolina to the SEC analysis for members only. So please head over, check that out. We appreciate all of you supporting the show. And next Monday, we're still working out the kinks, but it sounds like we will be able to have our friend Big Ten Ted on, the grand poobah of all Big Ten knowledge. Greg is the godfather, but if you need any information about any player on any roster in the Big Ten, Ted is your man. And sounds like we will be able to get him on here for a final season preview next Monday. So stay tuned for that. And from myself, Moen, and everyone here at College Football Mafia, thank you so much for joining, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Peace out.